Welcome back. We appreciate you being here on What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Joining me this Sunday is Grace Gilbert-Davis, the new Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Association Vermont Chapter. Grace, I appreciate you being here with us.
Oh, Lauren, thank you so much for having me.
Fairly new on the job. What, about 2 months or so in?
2 months, yeah, starting November 5th.
Okay. Now, you've been in healthcare basically your whole career, as you told me. So why this kind of work now?
Taking this position was a great way to continue to serve Vermonters in a different capacity than I've done in the past, which is either academic health care or working for federally qualified health centers. And because it was new and challenging, I decided to give it a try.
Most previously, you were at the Battenkill Valley Health Center in southern Vermont?
Correct. And it was very much a startup. I enjoyed my time there in southern Vermont. It's beautiful, it's very rural, but not only was I looking for a new challenge, but I wanted to return to Chittenden County where my family and friends are.
When it comes to this kind of work with the Alzheimer's Association, is there something that made you really want to get involved?
Like many people who work for the association or volunteer, because we have a huge cadre of volunteers across the country, I have a familial connection. My maternal grandmother died from Alzheimer's disease. So it makes you more passionate about the condition and the fact that the incident rates are rising so quickly across the country, around the world actually.
And you mentioned to me when it comes to women, there are more cases.
There are. Remarkably, 2/3 of people living with Alzheimer's are women. And in Vermont, 60% of caregivers are women, which is not remarkable because healthcare in general, but certainly caregivers generally are female. But that's a huge number. And I found out recently myself that of those women in Vermont, there are 30,000 caregivers, 60% are women. They provide 34 million hours of unpaid care for family members, friends, loved ones. That has a market value of $430 million of unpaid time.
And when it comes to the role of a caregiver, it's full-time, you know, and sometimes it's thankless work. Is there a story that you've heard, and I know you're new, that, you know, kind of comes to mind when it comes to just how passionate these people are caring for loved ones and family members?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Well, I can tell you just from personal experience that my grandmother was in a assisted living, went to a nursing home, and she really wasn't getting appropriate care, and she finally came home to live with my aunt Carol. And my aunt Carol's life was changed literally forever. It became more or less a 24/7 job for her. So we do know that statistically caregivers' health many times is impacted by this type of care. It's very challenging, very challenging.
What do you think people out there, viewers out there, may not know about this disease?
One of the most interesting things I have learned since joining the Alzheimer's team is that of the top 10 causes of death in the U.S., Alzheimer's is the only disease that cannot be prevented, cured, or even slowed. And even more staggering is that between 2000 and 2025, deaths from Alzheimer's as recorded on death certificates increased 123%, while deaths from the #1 cause of death, which is heart disease, decreased 11%. In Vermont, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death, and our state has the distinction of having the highest Alzheimer death rate, the 6th highest Alzheimer death rate in the country.
I read that statistic when it came to heart disease as well. Why do some of the experts think there is such an increase when it comes to Alzheimer's cases?
Because of the graying of America, especially in Vermont. We currently have 13,000 Vermonters living with the disease. We actually believe that number could be doubled because oftentimes they go misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. or the family simply doesn't want to share that diagnosis, and that by 2025, that number will increase by 30% to 17,000.
For family and loved ones out there, how can they get support and just basically a virtual hug around them, when it comes to what they're dealing with?
There's a lot of support systems here in Vermont. I encourage people to go to the website, alz.org/Vermont. There you can find out about our 24/7 hotline, which is 800-272-3900. There are support groups throughout the state, and interestingly enough, I just found out today that there is a telephone support group for individuals who don't want to travel because of weather or because they're uncomfortable driving at night. And all you have to do is go to that website and get the toll-free call-in number. It meets on the first Monday of the month. I believe it's from
So it's basically a big conference call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Talking with other people other caregivers who are, or friends, family members who are living with a loved one or a friend with the disease.
What's your goal when it comes to this organization, Grace?
The goal for our organization, for the Vermont chapter, is to continue to support the national chapter, to focus on funding research and to increase support for caregivers. That's our #1 goal. Equally as important, the goal to continue to support Vermonters with this disease.
And I know we covered this as well a couple of months ago, but the Walk to End Alzheimer's, or the Longest Day, very important to your group.
They're huge fundraisers, and you know what, they're a lot of fun too. I encourage people to join up now. You can start putting together teams and signing up on our website. We have walks in the Champlain Valley, Rutland, the Upper Valley, St. Johnsbury. So throughout the state, you can participate. And the longest day is the summer solstice. And so one of the most interesting things I heard was instead of doing a marathon or a 5K, was to do a 0.5K, the shortest run on the longest day.
I like that.
Ending at a brewery. Very creative.
True.
So the longest day is just about coming up with a really interesting idea to fundraise and doing it with family and friends, and you can do anything that you want.
I imagine any kind of work, whether it's office work, etc., you need volunteers year-round.
Oh my gosh, yes. We are a volunteer-driven organization, and you can volunteer for virtually anything. Whether it's chairing one of the committees for the walks or doing data entry, we love our volunteers and couldn't do it without them.
Okay, appreciate it. Grace, thank you so much for being here. Good luck.
Oh, thank you, Lauren.
We'll be right back on What Matters This Week.